there everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new video. We're going to be talking about layering stencils, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can jazz up your layering stencils to create some really pretty effects. More than just ink blending, we're going to add paste, we're going to add glitter, and we're going to have a lot of fun making some really unique backgrounds. So my first project is going to be using the Layering Candles stencil set from Pretty Pink Posh. All the stencils that I'm using today are from Pretty Pink Posh. The layering stencil set has 3 layers, and actually all the stencils that I'll be using today have 3 layers. We're going to start first with the base layer of the candles, and we're going to stick it onto our cardstock. I have a bit of tape on the back side of my cardstock to help hold the stencils in place, so that way as I pull the stencil off of the paper and put the next layer on, the tape is still on the paper and it'll grab onto the next stencil. I'm going to use Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated Inks to do all of my ink blending. This one I'm going to do an ombre of color going from one corner to the other and creating a nice hue starting from green. We'll move into teal and then finally finish up with cadet for a nice true blue. This base layer is going to be all of the color for the candles. We're going to add another layer, which is more of a decorative layer, on top of these, and that's going to actually be done with some clear paste. And I'll show you how we're going to embellish that as we go along. So once I finished up all of the ink blending for this base layer, I'll remove the stencil. Now I'm actually going to do 2 different paste techniques on this particular card, but I wanted to do the flames of the candles first in ink blending. Both of those are going to be done with paste, so obviously you can't do them at the exact same time. But I also wanted to have a color underneath the paste that's going to go on top of the flames. So we're going to start first by ink blending the yellow on top of the flames. Then we'll bring in the decorative layer and add that on top of the candles. So this layer we're going to do in a paste. And this one's going to be transparent gloss paste from Ranger. I'm going to use a palette knife to apply this paste through the stencil. This is going to act as an adhesive. So on this layer, we're going to actually apply some glitter. We want something to hold the glitter, and a paste is usually a really great way to be able to do that. So it's going to add a little bit of dimension because it is a paste, but it's also going to grab onto the glitter that we're going to add on top. Now always make sure you clean your stencils in between each layer because those pastes, you don't want them to dry on the stencils. It's a lot harder to get them off once everything's dried, so make sure you wash it right away. The paste does take quite a bit of time to dry, so you've got lots of time to add your glitter. I'm using 2 different Simon Says Stamp glitters here, Unicorn Confetti and also Unicorn Dust. And I'm sprinkling those glitters on top of the paste. The reason I'm sprinkling is because I'm mixing the glitters. If I were to use just one glitter, I could have just dumped it all on. But because I want a mix of these 2 glitters together, I need to make sure I sprinkle so that way the entire paste isn't covered with just one glitter, because once you cover it, you're not going to be able to add anything else on top. So sprinkling allows you to get that nice variegated effect. So that paste dried, we're ready to move on to the next layer of paste. So on top of our flames with the ink blending, we're going to apply some gold glitter glitz gel. This is from Simon Says Stamp. It's from their rainbow mix of glitter glitz gels, and I'm using a small palette knife to help me apply that through the stencil and covering up all of those flames. Now the reason I chose to do this to have the ink blending underneath the glitter is in case we have any areas that don't get covered by the glitter, you'll still see some nice yellow flames. So I think it really enhances that glitter. So this card is really bright and colorful, and it has that nice glittery finish. Now let's move on to something a little bit more subdued, but yet just as colorful, and this is foiling. You can foil on top of any stencil design as long as you use a perfect product for this technique, and that is Thermo Web Transfer Gel. So I'm going to start first by ink blending the cupcake base. These little cupcake wrappers we're going to color in a rainbow of different inks. I've actually taken the time to go through and color each individual cupcake wrapper with a different color. And yes, it was a tad tedious, but I love the finish effect. And I tried to match up the ink colors that I used with the foil that I used from ThermoWeb. It's a rainbow foil and it looks really pretty. So I kind of used the colors from that foil as the guide for what I was using for the wrappers. So as you can see, I'm also using small brushes from Simon Says Stamp to help me maintain control as I color each individual cupcake wrapper because I don't want to get one color of ink into the next wrapper. I want each one their own color. Now you could of course mask things off, but the small blending brushes make this very easy. We're going to put the frosting layer on next, and this one I'm going to do in chocolate. So I have some mocha ink from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm coloring each of those little frosting pieces with the mocha ink. Now you could also use a larger blending brush, but I wanted to create a little bit of shading here. So as you notice, as I'm adding the ink blending, I'm focusing a ton of that ink down along the bottom portion of the frosting and leaving the top portions just a tad lighter. It makes them a tad bit dimensional, so it gives everything a nice bit of interest. Now let's add the detail layer. So this one we're going to apply with transfer gel. Now transfer gel is a really unique material. It allows you to foil on top of your stenciling. Now I actually had an old jar of transfer gel. The new version of transfer gel actually is able to be used either with a laminator or a die cut machine. You don't need heat to apply the foil onto the dried gel. You actually just need pressure. So for my project, I'm actually going to use a laminator because I need something to apply the heat and pressure for the old transfer gel. But if you have the transfer gel duo, all you'll need to do is run this through with your foil inside of your die cut machine. So I'm going to put this panel inside of a carrier sheet. The panel is completely dry. The gel is nice and clear. It's a little bit tacky, and it's going to grab onto that foil. We're going to put that entire piece through our laminator and bring it through the other side. It's transferring the foil onto those stenciled areas with the detail. So now we have that transfer gel covered in foil, and we're going to get these really nice foiled accents on top of our cupcakes. Just look how cool that is. Paste is such a fun way to add details to your stenciling. So we're going to go ahead and use a different type of paste now to add some nice finishing touches to this monochromatic card. I'm going to go ahead and start by stenciling these presents from the Layering Presents stencil set, and we're going to go ahead and stencil them with bubblegum ink. It's a light color of ink. We want to start with our lightest color and work up to the darkest. So I'm going to color all of the presents with this light color of ink, and I'm actually trying to variegate the ink blending. I want some areas to be a tad lighter than others, so I'm not trying to make this blending perfect. I want this to have some light and dark sections. Now we're going to bring in the detailed layer. This detailed layer is going to add some nice stripes and patterns to our presents, and I'm using peony ink to add that color on through the stencil. So now we have a slightly darker shade of ink going through the stencil and applying this really nice darker version of pink. So I'll remove the stencil, and you can see where we're going with this. We have these nice fun presents, very monochromatic, and you could do more than just a pink color. You could do blue, your favorite color, whatever you prefer. This would be great for a little girl. So now we've added the bow layer on top of our paper, and we're using stencil butter to apply that paste through the stencil on top of our presents. So now all of the bows on each of these presents are going to be covered with this really deep fuchsia color of stencil butter. It's a nice contrast on top of that pink, and we get these really beautiful monochromatic presents created by using that paste as the final layer. Now, Pretty Pink Posh has more than just fun stencils that they offer. We carry a ton of Pretty Pink Posh's beautiful sequin mixes. So I'm going to create a shaker card for a couple of these projects, including the presents card. So I'm going to throw in a variety of sequins. I've got some sparkling clear, and I even have these sweet pink hearts. These are actually clay, and so they have a really nice bit of dimension, and they also add a little bit of texture to your project. So I'm going to throw these in along with the pink sequins. And if you're interested in any of the products, including the sequins that I'm using on these cards, be sure to check out the video description or the Simon Says Stamp blog for all the details on that. So this is an edge-to-edge shaker, so I'm wrapping this paper with plastic so that way the sequins are captured inside and enclosed inside of the shaker card. And just look how cool this is. Very monochromatic, very fun. Pretty Pink Posh has a bunch of other clay embellishments that work well for shaker cards. So I put some of these Unicorn Dream confetti pieces inside of this shaker card along with some clear sequins. And again, this is another edge-to-edge shaker card, so it's non-bulky, perfect for mailing. As you can see, mixing the clay and the clear sequins together really adds a nice sparkle. You get that really fun confetti effect, but then you also get the sparkle. And I just love how this pairs up with all of the details we added on these stencil designs. Now I finished up all of my cards using a sentiment set from Simon Says Stamp. This is a birthday greetings mix. All the sentiments I white heat embossed onto different colors of cardstock to be able to match up with the colors that I used in each of the cards. For the candles card, I used some mermaid cardstock, and that works really well with the color combination. But for some of the other cards, I used black or soft navy. Feel free to pick colors that work well for the color combinations you used in your stenciling. As you can see, all of these cards are such a fun way to be able to use these backgrounds that are made possible by those really beautiful layering stencils from Pretty Pink Posh. I hope that this video has given you some ideas on how you can add some really fun wow factors to your stenciling. More than just ink blending, you can add paste, foil, glitter, so many fun ways to be able to incorporate some nice finishing touches, and I love how all of these cards turned out. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope you were inspired and I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for additional inspiration. I'll be back soon with more to share with you all. But until then, I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Bye!